What's good, YouTube? Back again with another video. PPP loan fraudsters getting caught, part 2. Let's get into it.
While the feds were pushing out COVID relief cash to companies during the pandemic, opportunists defrauded the government out of billions of dollars by lying about their needs. Now, a high-profile Phoenix business owner who once ran the state's largest special needs clinic is charged with COVID loan fraud, and she's facing the possibility of serious jail time.
12 News journalist Joe Dane.
We got major business owners finessing. Man, this PPP was really just open season for anybody with a business.
Finds that despite that, she remains a contractor for the Department of Education. Joe?
COVID loan fraud is not a victimless crime. Taxpayers remain on the hook for paying it back years into the future. 1,200,000, 150,000, and it goes on and on and on. A criminal indictment against the woman who once ran a special needs service empire in the Valley alleges she stole over $2.9 million through 9 companies she has in her name.
Damn, 2.9, so $3 million over 9 companies. One thing I will say, if you are going to finesse, at least go big. Like I said, in part 1, we had people finessing for 15, 20, 30 grand. Like I said, if you're going to go to jail for some fraud, it needs to be multiple millions. So at least 2.9. I mean, I still wouldn't have did it, but at least we're talking some M's. Let me know in the comments below, how much would it take for you to commit PPP fraud? What's your number?
Can you please ask her to contact us? We first revealed Bridget OBrien's suspicious COVID loans in 2021. In a brazen move, the same month O'Brien began collecting COVID bailout funds, she bought this nearly $2 million Biltmore home. At the same time,
That's a nice home.
She still owed therapists who did contract work for her.
People were not getting paid for months and months.
Oh, hold on. Time out, foul. So she was running a special needs clinic, collected $3 million and wasn't even paying the therapists. Oh, I don't even feel bad for her at all. Come on. You living in $2 million houses. You got people who just trying to make ends meet and pay their bills, and you finessing them. Throw the book at her.
This indictment, the latest chapter in a truly bizarre journey for O'Brien since we began investigating her in 2018.
It's incredible in the negative way, the impact that she had.
At that time, we brought to light evidence of fraud and non-payment of social workers.
I want my money. That's it. I don't have any bad feelings toward her.
And the state cut off Medicaid payments to her company. Then in 2021, O'Brien was caught on surveillance camera stealing a dog in front of the owner's yard.
Damn, so not only is she stealing PPP money, she not paying her social workers, the therapists, and she's stealing random dogs? That's diabolical.
He pleaded guilty to theft.
It's amazing to get Max back.
For years, former coworkers and therapists accused O'Brien of lying about a cancer diagnosis to avoid her obligations.
Is there a reason why she hasn't been able to provide direct documentation of cancer treatment? Your facts are all wrong, Joe.
She had a legal...
And then I thought that she might have been a cancer patient in that earlier clip when she had the headscarf on. So that was all a finesse. Oh, so she really was doing this for real. Like, she had this all planned out. This was a serious finesse. She was trying to get the sympathy. People think she got cancer. Man.
Heavyweight defending her in court. Her attorney, former Attorney General and current State Superintendent Tom Horn, a longtime acquaintance of O'Brien. Now, the indictment...
I could already tell she's going to get off with a slap in the wrist. Her attorney is the former Attorney General. Come on, man. That means he tied in with all the judges. She about to get a slap on the wrist. That's the thing. Like I said, if you are going to do this PPP fraud, at least do it for millions so you have money to get good legal representation.
Indictment claims O'Brien used one of her companies, Kids A Therapy, to steal $340,000 in COVID funds. That company remains listed as an authorized tutor for the Arizona Department of Education, and that means it's eligible to receive even more COVID funds. Now, I've asked Superintendent Tom Horn, given O'Brien's history of alleged Medicaid fraud, non-payment of contractors, dog napping, and now this 20-count criminal indictment, whether he thinks O'Brien should be removed as a contractor for the Department of Ed. Horn tells me in a written statement, Miss O'Brien is entitled to her day in court. O'Brien is due back in court next month. She has pleaded not guilty. Her attorney has previously told us she obtained the COVID loans under the rules set forth by the federal government.
I can tell you, like I said, she's tied into some connected people. She's going to get a slap on the wrist.
Joe Dana, 12 News.
Joe, thanks.
Well, new here at 11, this Davenport couple is accused of trying to defraud the government out of more than $5 million in COVID relief money. According to court records, the couple spent some of that money gambling at casinos, purchasing designer handbags, and they paid off their 2017 BMW. As Fox 13's Jordan Bowen reports, this isn't the first time that one of those defendants has been charged with fraud.
Common theme with a lot of these PPP loan scammers. They were already finessing before COVID. So like I said, when COVID came around, that was like a jackpot. They already knew what they were doing. They knew how to run it up. They already had multiple LLCs and businesses. Like I said, it was like Christmas.
For some struggling businesses, COVID relief funds can be a lifeline. But feds say the businesses under 44-year-old Julio Lugo and 37-year-old Rosenide Vinnett not only weren't struggling, but weren't even real. Attorney Anthony Rickman, who isn't associated with the case, says the real victim is the taxpayer.
Businesses are failing. Businesses are struggling. This money was set aside for legitimate businesses. These two defendants, through their conspiracy and through their fraud, submitted multiple applications for businesses that didn't exist.
According to court records, beginning in March of 2020, the couple used their home IP address to submit at least 70 false and fraudulent loan applications.
See, y'all don't be thinking, y'all be submitting these loans and they could track back your IP address. You got to think these stuff through. Like I said, the government, they may move a little bit slow, but they not dumb. When they come, they're going to cross their T's and they're going to dot their I's.
Seeking funds from the Paycheck Protection Program, or PPP. As a result, the couple, along with some close family members, fraudulently obtained more than $1.6 million in loan money.
Not only did they just profit from it, but the way and manner in which they did was brazen, was bold.
Some of the most damning evidence includes these video stills taken from a video Lugo uploaded to Facebook. In it, Lugo and Vinnett can be seen in a hotel.
So let me get this straight. They got 1.6 million. They thought it would be a good idea to upload money pictures and upload this to social media. Like I said, people give themselves away all the time. Don't you think people in their everyday regular life knew who they were, and all of a sudden you come into all this money? I wouldn't be surprised if it was one of their family members or close friends that told on them.
Room littered with $100 bills, several items from Louis Vuitton, and a $5,000 watch. In addition to the video, the couple is accused of spending $47,000 to pay off a 2017 BMW 7 Series sedan, spending $49,000 at.
Again, like I said, if I'm doing some PPP fraud, look, the last thing I'm worried about is paying off any debt, because at the end of the day, you should already know going into this thing, you're probably going to get caught. So you might as well just go ahead and live it up to the fullest.
Casinos and another 13 grand spent at weight loss centers. All purchases the feds say were made with COVID relief funds. The couple was arrested Thursday. At the time, Lugo was still on supervised probation for a tax fraud case from 2015.
Looking at the amount of loss, the number of charges, I do anticipate both of these defendants doing a significant amount of time in federal prison.
As they should. Like I said, and we as the taxpayers ultimately going to have to fit the bill for this.
Reporting in Tampa, Jordan Bowen, Fox 13 News.
A former Houston entrepreneur who moved to Dallas is facing decades in prison for allegedly committing loan fraud. Kristen Fenrick submitted a Paycheck Protection Program, those PPP loans in 2020, that may wind up costing her hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines. Irving Mejia Elario, who covers business for the Dallas Morning News, joins us now with more on that. Irving, good morning.
Hi, good morning. Thank you guys for having me.
All right, so there were so many people, Irving, who needed these loans to keep their companies afloat.
And that's the saddest part about this whole thing. People who really needed this money, probably small mom and pop businesses, maybe 2, 3, 4 employees, just trying to keep the doors open, just trying to keep their employees paid, probably never even received any of these funds. But you got people like this who knew the system, were already scamming beforehand, and they received hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars, and all they did was literally trick off the money. Cars, clothes, vacations, nothing significant.
How could something like this happen?
It's pretty simple, honestly. I've been covering these PPP loans now for about a year now, and a lot of people submitted them. Here in Texas, I think we had about 930,000 of these loans come through, and that they got approved. It really wasn't that hard to get approved of them. So long as you had a company and you weren't being affected by the pandemic, you were pretty likely to get one of these things.
Pretty much the government was giving away money, essentially, if you had an LLC.
But what are they saying that she did that was illegal?
Well, she submitted a loan back in 2020, obviously sort of at the height of the pandemic, and inflated, according to the Southern District of Texas, inflated the employee headcount and monthly expenses of her company, Clearly Kristen Inc. It was a company that sold jewelry from January 2015 to June 2022. In her application, she allegedly sent the IRS phony documents and paid someone to help her submit the application. At the end of it all, I think she had $405,000 forgiven in her loans. Now, fair point to her, though. She says that she did not submit the loan personally, so at the moment she's maintaining her innocence and saying, hey, I didn't submit.
That might be a smart finesse there. She's saying that she didn't personally submit the loan. I wonder if maybe with a decent lawyer she could beat it. She sounds like, the smartest one I heard so far out of these PPP loan fraudsters.
Submit the 941. Somebody else did this thing for me.
Yeah, these are all allegations, but do we know what happened or what reportedly happened to the money?
Well, like many cases of PPP loans, the money did not allegedly go to where we thought that it was supposed to. The money for that stuff is supposed to be used for a whole lot of stuff with businesses, right? Maintaining your employees and maintaining payroll, A lot of other places have spent the money on, let's say, extravagant stuff. I've seen cars, boats, et cetera, et cetera.
Same theme. My thing is this, though. Don't you think that they're going to be able to check your bank records and see how you're spending this money and see that you're buying jewelry, you're buying cars, vacations, nothing that's directly related to the business, and it's eventually going to catch up with you? That's my only thing. If I was to do this PPP loan, you need to get at least a couple million and move out the country immediately.
In this case, we're talking about a luxury vehicle, an unnamed one, so we don't exactly know what car, what make, anything, but it seems like this is a case of many others where the money just didn't go where it was supposed to.
So again, she's actually being charged with committing loan fraud, again, allegedly, but how might all of this end when we get to the end of this?
I don't want to say anything specifically about whether she will be guilty or not guilty. That's not my job. However, I will say again, been covering this stuff for a little bit.
Hopefully she's found guilty. Like I said, these scammers got to be stopped, man. It's a shame that, like I said, so many people were struggling, finding a way to make ends meet, and these people were literally just tricking the money off.
And in my side of the business, we very rarely see the headline of person found innocent after being accused of PPP loan fraud. When the government comes after you for PPP loan fraud, they have a very good reason to. Your name probably came up in a prior investigation, or you did a really bad job covering your tracks, and they've been on to you for kind of a while now. So I don't want to...
Great point. When the government comes to get you, understand they've been watching you for some years, for some time. When it's time for them to run down on you, it's already too late.
I say whether or not she will be found guilty or not guilty, but those are kind of the two outcomes. Either we'll get a guilty plea, or she'll be found guilty by a jury, and in doing so, she may have to pay a fine of about $250,000 and potentially serve 45 years in prison.
Wow. All right, Irving, thank you so very much for joining us. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
And you can read much more of Irving's work.
5 prosecutors arrested 6 people in Palm Beach County they claim bought luxury cars and expensive vacations with taxpayer dollars earmarked to keep their businesses open during the pandemic. Our investigative reporter Dave Bowman joins us. And Dave, we understand one of these businesses was a nonprofit affiliated with a local church.
Damn. So even pastor was scamming during the pandemic? Don't churches already don't have to pay any taxes? Damn.
Megan, the First Baptist Church on 12th Street in Riviera Beach was torn down almost 2 years ago. But investigators say nonprofits that use the church's address allegedly
So let me get this straight. The church didn't even exist. It's been knocked down for 2 years prior, but they were still using that previous address. My Lord.
Run by the church's pastor, received $1.1 million taxpayer dollars that prosecutors say he was not entitled to. 2 years ago, the aging church was fighting to stay open. It defaulted on a $1.2 million loan for repairs. In 2020 and 2021, arrest papers now show the church's pastor, Homer Altador, getting 3 separate payroll protection program loans for nonprofits connected with the church.
And the loans he got were, our investigation found, undeserved and totaled over $1 million.
The church was torn down after a developer bought the property in 2022. But Pastor Altador's problems resurfaced a year later when Riviera Beach Police and the Palm Beach County State Attorney's Office started investigating if the money was really spent to keep people employed and the nonprofits active.
Just think about this. It was people in this pastor's congregation that probably was really struggling during this time. And to think the pastor got over $1 million and was just tricking the money off. And this is supposed to be the pastor of the church, the leader, the head, and he finessing. But he probably telling you that your blessing, you're going to get your blessings in heaven. And he getting his right now. Diabolical.
According to the arrest report, PPP money was used to buy fast food, gas, car rental, airline tickets, and restaurants, leading to Altador's arrest on fraud and money laundering charges.
The particular person that was arrested created 2 different charities, organizations, businesses, I guess, using the church's address.
No one likes a cheat.
Palm Beach County State Attorney Dave Ehrenberg says his office has charged 5 other businesses, including a luxury car dealer. Also charged, a Delray Beach tax preparer who, according to arrest papers, collected more than $60,000 in PPP loans while he collected unemployment benefits with over $17,000 in expenditures at the Seminole Casino.
It's bad enough.
People was really just racking up during this time. Like, it was really either feast or famine. Either you was broke or you was living like Prince Hakeem.
To do this to your fellow taxpayers, it's worse when you do it during and after the COVID pandemic.
State Attorney Dave Ehrenberg also said there are more payroll protection plan fraud investigations underway, but he admitted this kind of fraud is so widespread that prosecutors may only be able to arrest a fraction of those who committed the crime at the height of the COVID pandemic.
So essentially saying a lot of people are going to get away with this. Nasty work.
We are now hearing from Broward Sheriff Gregory Toney after 17 deputies have been arrested and charged with fraud. Local 10's Roy Ramos is live with this developing story. Roy.
Pastors, man, we got law enforcement. Man.
Nicole, and we have learned that nearly 100 BSO employees did apply for the PPP loans. And of the 100, 17 of them are now facing federal charges. Well, as you mentioned today, we did get a chance to speak with Broward Sheriff Gregory Toney about these allegations, and he says if his employees were involved in this type of criminal activity, they do not deserve to be working in the law enforcement profession.
Shout out to that sheriff, man. Like I said, I agree 100%. If anybody in his ranks was found to be taking PPP money and you supposed to be a protect and serve and uphold the law, and you out here finessing, again, like I said, I just don't understand. You gotta, you're a cop. You got a good job. I mean, cops don't make the most money in the world, but with some overtime, you can make some, decent money. You got a pension. You got good health care. Why risk all of this for a few dollars? It just don't make sense to me.
Did you believe you were receiving these loans legitimately?
17 members of the Broward Sheriff's Office, which include both BSO deputies and detention deputies, released from the federal courthouse in Fort Lauderdale after being indicted on charges that include wire fraud after federal investigators said they fraudulently applied for and received funds from the Paycheck Protection Program, or PPP.
And the sad thing about this thing, the fact that they're cops, cops, usually look out for their own, protect their own. these guys will probably get a slap on the wrist.
Loans.
Bonds were set. They're being released. Nobody, as far as I know, is being detained. And we'll take it from there. We'll be back in court.
Attorney Brian Silber represents 3 of the defendants, some of whom have either been suspended or placed on leave pending the outcome of the investigation.
I can't comment on the nature of the case.
Now, I wonder if that suspension, is that with pay or without pay? That would be interesting to know. 'Cause, I mean, if it's with pay, it's almost like they're sending them off on a vacation.
The charging documents do not allege that any of the defendants committed the charged offenses in the course of their official duties. This does not in any way diminish the seriousness of what the defendants are alleged to have done here.
Sheriff Gregory Toney said he first learned of the crimes in November of 2021, prompting him to investigate all 5,500 of his employees, including himself and other top brass.
Sounds like a good sheriff. Like I said, as soon as he heard there was some foul play going on, he did a thorough investigation and not only audited his staff, but himself as well. Shout out to that brother.
Of the 17 indicted, 7 BSO deputies and 1 sergeant in law enforcement, and 8 detention deputies and 1 sergeant in corrections.
I hate to see that, knowing some of the individuals and seeing the names on that list that's being indicted, some of them were good officers. But you're only as good as the last act and conduct that you execute.
Ooh, well said. Well said. He deserves a raise, man.
We learned the defendants involved received tens of thousands of dollars, and while the investigation has proved that some of whom were investigated did have legitimate businesses, at the very least, the 17 now facing federal charges allegedly did not.
If you're going to be participating in criminal activities, we don't want you in this profession.
Exactly. You should not be in law enforcement if you're participating in criminal activity. And they mentioned this was only tens of thousands of dollars. Again, why would you throw a career away in law enforcement for 20, 30, 40,000? We got to make it make sense. We got to do better.
Busted in a payment protection plan con. An OC man is accused of taking millions of dollars from the government and spending it on exotic race cars.
Hey, at least he went big. He said, look, if I'm going to go down for fraud, I'm going to have some stories to tell. Bentleys, Lamborghinis, and that's not the cheap Lamborghini. That's the one with the doors go up. That's the Aventador. So that was at least $500,000-600,000 easy right there.
Investigators say he went to great lengths to cash in on the business program.
KCAL 9 Orange County reporter Stacey Butler with how they say he pulled off the scheme.
A Ferrari, a Bentley, a Lamborghini, millions of dollars worth of sports cars purchased with your tax dollars, the feds say, by a scam artist who defrauded a pandemic relief fund.
Instead of using the money like a legitimate business to help the business stay afloat. Instead, what's alleged is that he used the money for his own personal expenses, to take lavish vacations.
Again, his employees are probably struggling. He was probably giving them all types of sob stories while he couldn't pay them, while he living life on the hog, buying Lamborghinis, high-end vacations. Like I said, hopefully they throw this guy under the jail.
And to purchase 3 luxury sports cars. A Bentley, a Ferrari, and a Lamborghini.
Investigators say last spring, 38-year-old Mustafa Kadiri applied for $5 million in PPP loans.
Mustafa went big, though. He said, I need 5 M's. He said, I'm not doing a little 20, 30, 40,000. I need 5 of them things.
And got them. They say he used fake companies. He even had 4 business addresses in Newport Beach, websites online, and social media pages. But all of it, say investigators, were fake. Earlier this week, a federal grand jury indictment that was returned charges Kadiri with bank and wire fraud, identity theft, and money laundering.
The number of businesses that closed over the last year plus, and the number of people hurting out there, and that there are unscrupulous actors who take advantage of what's a government program supposed to help people.
The people who truly needed help are reacting. Melody Bridges has a dance studio in the San Fernando Valley. She got a loan and barely survived.
It angers us. We had to go through so much stress to get the PPP loan. Without it, we would have gone under. The government, I think, had to work so hard to try to help small businesses like ours stay afloat during this incredibly challenging.
See, the problem is the government was inundated probably with applications and flooded. And they just had to, if it looks somewhat legit, like you said, if you put any effort to make this finesse look somewhat legitimate, you probably got the money. I mean, it seems like that's the same theme that was reoccurring in all of these videos. These are people who probably were already scamming before the pandemic, and like I said, the pandemic hit and he just turbocharged it. But let me know what you think in the comments. Again, let me know what would be your number that you would need to consider to commit this fraud. Is it 1 million, 2 million, 10 million, 20 million? Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.